What's up, everybody? Thank you guys so much for joining us, whether you're listening on the podcast, whether you're with us on YouTube, whenever you are listening or watching this. As always, my name is Chris Kimston. Thanks so much for spending your time with us. We have somebody here today that you might know, but you might know from a lot of different places. So we have here Mr. Ryan Will Tunink here joining us this evening. So Ryan, introduce yourself and the various kind of roles that you play, including some of the side projects that you do and just all the different things that make up your life.
Sure, absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. This is so great. Love what you're doing, man. So my name is Ryan Will Tunink. There's a lot of people who know me by Will Tunink. And so the reason why there's variation in that, I'll get to in a second. But basically what I do for my main job right now is student ministry coordinator at Hope+Elim. So I'm doing that. And so I work with students from grade 6 all the way through 12. So that's junior high and senior high. And I have a great time, love hanging out with them, love pouring into them, letting them know that they are loved and that they got a safe place here. So I do that. I also am a musical artist. I consider that my job as well. And so that looks like R&B, rap, those kinds of styles have been my predominant stuff so far. And so do that. I also am a wedding DJ. So I DJ people's weddings and bring the party to their reception. It's just another fun thing that I do. So those are the three main kind of career paths that have been a part of my journey so far.
That's awesome. Well, and you do all of those things exceptionally well. Now, when those are all like, you can see a thread through a lot of those, but they're not all the same. How exactly maybe did you become interested in those specific ways that you spend your time?
Sure, absolutely. I've always had a passion for the youth. I think they are leaders now, and I think that they are doing incredible things in our society and culture. I mean, you just look at what's happening society-wise, and I think they're doing incredible things, and they're leading in exemplary ways. So really proud of them, and I love pouring into them and letting them know that they've got that opportunity. So that's kind of what led me towards student ministry, because I wanted to let them know that Jesus loves them too. And I also I love music. Music has always been a part of me. It's been ingrained into my very fiber and being since I was young. Grew up on the Beatles, Michael Jackson, Celine Dion, Whitney Houston, Kirk Franklin, so many different.
Shout out to Celine Dion.
Huh?
I said shout out to Celine Dion.
Shout out to Celine Dion and shout out to Phil Collins. Like, listen, there's so many people who just brought good music, eclectic sounds, but that's just been a part of who I am since I was a child, is that music surrounded every facet of anything that I did. My sisters would actually muse that, like, oh, Ryan's about to go pop in the showers, and that means he's about to be in there for an hour because he's about to be performing to all these Phil Collins songs. He's going to be doing like
all the drum solos.
All the drum solos, all the wailing and attempts at singing, all that good stuff. So music's just been a part of that. And so it's found itself through me creating my own music as well as just celebrating with other people great music for DJing weddings. Music is just a beautiful platform for us to connect.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a lot of different things that you're involved in. You're a passionate guy, kind of following, like you said, those things that have surrounded your life for a long time. Now, maybe, I don't know if this was something that was handed to you as a worldview. I know it certainly was for me, and part of this is self-imposed. Maybe some of this is just the circumstances we grew up in, but I know I'm not alone in that we're told, hey, find that one thing that you're good at, try to do that for a job, make sure you make money, make sure you do all these different things. And like, you can have a cute hobby at some point if it's okay with, a lot of people view these side projects, side hustles, hobbies as unnecessary. And yet you and I are part of a generation like that might be called, and it has been in some circumstances already, the side hustle generation. The ampersand generation, or the AKA generations, where people are doing a lot of different things. So what do you think about that specifically, and about the how crucial it is to have some of those extra things that you're doing?
Absolutely. I love that question because it is so relevant, because this whole thing that you're doing, the people that are listening, you reach so many people outside of Iowa, but something that is so relevant to Iowa and our culture is that, hey, what are you going to do with your life? And if you say anything like, oh, I want to be a musical artist, or hey, I want to be an actor or actress, or like, hey, I want to just slap the bass and do that for a living, people are like, oh, that's really cute. But what are you going to do for a living? And it's just like this whole reality that people see any sort of side hustle, any sort of hobby as kind of unnecessary baggage that if you get to it, it's fine, but you really don't need it in your life. And that is something that has been my goal in life, is to deconstruct that and not make that a thing. Because I think the thing that we also need to recognize is side projects and hobbies are good. Side and projects and hustles on the side and hobbies are necessary, because if our whole life and our whole identity is wrapped up in one thing that we do, say it's our job, what's going to happen when we get to that point in our career where we either don't have that job anymore, where we are retiring, or maybe we've just decided or recognized this job isn't what I like anymore.
Yeah.
We just kind of fall apart, because that's our whole identity. And so side projects and hobbies are really good for us to recognize that there's more to us than just our job. There's more to us than just our main source of income. There's more to us than just our 9 to 5. And
we're seeing that, right? Like we see there historically people who unfortunately succumb to self-harm and a lot of different fall back into cycles of addiction and a bunch of other really awful things that a lot of brokenness in people's lives usually stem from a circumstance in which they've experienced a loss of identity. And whether that's you got fired, so all of a sudden you don't know who you are, you lost that relationship, and all of a sudden that person that was that was the way that you identified yourself, all of a sudden when all that's gone, when it's wrapped up into one thing, it's all of a sudden you're kind of rudderless. So I definitely feel that. And to go along with what you're saying too, I think it's so interesting. Like, you know, if you get to know somebody, you know, we're moving into a new building for Hope Des Moines, and we're having a lot of conversations with people in the neighborhood or with college students or a bunch of different folks. And one of the things that you always ask, right, when you're getting to know someone is you say, oh, what do you do? And like, if you get to say, hey, I'm a rapper, because you are a rapper and you like actually do that as a job. But like, I'm trying to think of other things that people love to do. Like, let's say somebody just is like really passionate. I love certain like bizarre passions that people have, or maybe passions that not everyone has. Like, let's say our friend Jed, for example, who people listen to this know Jed. He's actually been on a pop-up class with us as well. If they say, Jed, what do you do? And he was like, you know what? I'm just really into sneakers. Yeah. People would like look at him kind of weird. And they'd be like, no. Like, what do you do? And he'd be like, oh, I'm a worship leader. They'd be like, oh, okay. But I just think it's interesting that like we all have passions and that almost gets more to the heart of who we are. But it's like, what people want to know is, how do you make a living? How can I categorize you into these kind of preconceived notions of how I understand things? And it seems like you're kind of working, as a lot of people are in our generation, to kind of just deconstruct that.
Absolutely, man. And I love that what you said, because we are more than the dollar. We are more than our bills. We are more than our monthly payments. We are multifaceted, complex individuals. And the more that we accept that, and the more that we hone in on that, the more that we're able to enjoy life. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that.
Amen. Now, another thing though is there might be some people listening to you name all the things that you do, and you're also married, and you also have a family, and they might be listening to that and going, where does he find the time of day? Because we live in a busyness culture, not like a business culture, but a busyness culture where, you know, if you say how busy you are, somebody's going to try to out busy you. Like, we have busy competitions all the time. Talk to me about finding time to do things that you love. You know, one of those things in and of itself, student ministry could take as much time as you're willing to give it. Talk about what it's like to try to find some time to focus on something that you can't just do in a hot second. Creativity does not strike whenever you poke it, so what does that look like for you?
Absolutely. This is a great question, and something that I think I'm going to continue to be learning the rest of my life. I don't think I have a perfect answer, but the thing that I've been recognizing in this season, at least for me, with busyness, and this is such a great question, especially for me, because I've always been known for this. I've always been known for being that guy who puts too much on his plate and does too many things. And so this is a really good, convicting question for me, and maybe for some of you out there that are listening, because busyness is something that we are so proud of. We're so proud of and like you said, just kind of one-upping each other on our busyness scale. And so for me, the best thing that I've done in my life is to create boundaries within myself. I have to create boundaries within myself to say, this is a time that I'm going to invest in this. This is a time that I'm going to invest in that. Here's how I'm going to try with my life to schedule certain environments for me to create music. So maybe this time of day or this time of night or this time of the week, or maybe it's this part of the weekend that I'm going to do this. And you create those boundaries in your life, not to necessarily keep you from enjoying sporadic, spontaneous, amazing experiences, but to create an opportunity for balance and also an opportunity for spontaneousness to strike more and not be annoying to you, but more so something that you can welcome. And so when I've allowed myself to create boundaries, it's really interesting, because the more I create boundaries, the more I feel freedom. The best word for some of us this year that we need is to say no. And that no is going to equate to a yes somewhere else that you really need. And so when I think about busyness culture, I think the thing we should continue to think about more so is, how can I free myself up to do less so I can enjoy it more?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's what I've really been honing in on, is how do I say no to a lot of things that might be good, but are not going to be great for me later. So
sure, no, that's great. And I think what I'm hearing you say is it's less about when you're talking about creating boundaries, it's less like I'm going to be, here I am being accountant version of me, but then I'll get to be my true me later of then I'm secret DJ, your kind of alternate identity that that doesn't get enough time, then you end up resenting those other things in your life. What I'm hearing you say is the boundaries are actual boundaries of time, of scheduling, I love what you said about, it's not, some people say, oh, I can't schedule songwriting, or I can't schedule my hobby or my creativity. I can't schedule that, because that would just take the spark away from it, then it ceases to be artistic. But what you're saying is you're creating actual time in which you're not doing anything else that might allow you to more fully be present, and therefore welcome in some of those more spontaneous or creative elements, and waiting for that to strike.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you did make that point. No. Don't be out here trying to compartmentalize yourself.
Well,
that's not healthy.
You're saying too.
So,
yeah, and I think that you're somebody that models that well, because I think what that looks like, essentially what we're talking about in a lot of ways here is, what does it look like to be you in a lot of different areas? I mean, you are the same person as an artist that you are as a youth leader. It's just those are different expressions of who you are made to be. Now that actually plays into a little bit why you actually had an artist name change specifically for that reason. Do you want to talk maybe just a little bit about that?
100%. Yes. I'm glad you brought it up. So I used to be called Echo, and it was a great season of my life. I really felt like I was called to be something, for a season. I felt a lot of pressure to be this very big, Christian rap kind of guy who was really invested in the Christianese of things, if you will. And so what I started finding was what we're talking about of that compartmentalization, is that there was this echo guy who seemed to have it all together and doing all this Christianese stuff, but really it was more fake than actual real Jesus, real love, real all of that. And so when it became time to go behind closed doors, I was a completely different person. And so when I started recognizing this farther along in my career, I recognized that like the art that I'm displaying is not genuine. It's a facade, it's a front, and it impacts and blesses people still to this day, which is great. But I wanted to be somebody that if you see me on the mic, if you hear my music, the same person that you're hearing on that and seeing it in those spaces is the same person you're going to get when I hop off the stage and talk to you on the side. And so it took me a while to understand that and realize that I needed to step away from that, because there's fear in that too when you start to build momentum, and when your side projects start becoming a bigger deal. Don't lose who you are. Don't lose who you are, because that is going to take away from the love you have for that at some point. So
yeah, and I think what you're leaning into here is that it's not about becoming somebody different that you're not. Like, you leaning into your passions is you more fully expressing who God made you to be.
Amen.
And I think that's really what we're all looking to do. I mean, whether it's, I'm not saying that everybody's side hobby or the different things that they're doing is like gonna magically like transform them into some deep person. You know, people are probably not going through creative artistical name changes that are listening to this, but I do think it's completely relevant to what we're saying, is that part of what allows us to give ourselves time to be creative, to dedicate things to to hobbies and passions that we have, is because it's part of who God made us to be. And so we should definitely give ourselves the license for that. So thank you for modeling that in that way and talking about that for sure. Now, there's some people listening to this that are going, okay, so I'm convinced I should dedicate more time to this, like whatever this is, whether you're, people who are really into hand lettering, people who are into a bunch of different things. My dog just running around, knocking over guitars and such. But there are people who are saying, okay, so what now? So what suggestion might you have as a professional, many different things? What suggestion might you have for someone looking to take one step farther in kind of doing more for their hobby or their side hustle, or kind of leaning into that? What's something you might suggest for them?
Absolutely. And I feel like it kind of breaks down to a couple different things, but to kind of sum it up, what's really good for people to recognize is that it's okay if there's a difference between your side hustle and also the difference between a hobby. Like, it's good to have both too. Like, a hobby is much different than a side hustle, because for your hobby, the investment is not to seek this is not necessarily the case with your full-time or your side hustle, but there is more investment and interest into it. But for your hobby, it's more so a place where you find safe space to relax, where you find safe space to just unwind. And you can still have that in your side hustle. You can still have that even in your main thing. Those can be there. But your hobby, the investment in is to just give yourself time to be you and cultivate and craft something that you enjoy out of pure enjoyment.
Yeah.
Now, for your side hustle, that is something different, because you're trying to build something. You're trying to build something that's going to build and compound upon itself. And so if it's something that you genuinely feel called and feel like it's a part of who you are, to make that something that is going to compound and lead to other things. Maybe it's leading to other people joining you on the journey in your side hustle. Maybe it's creating something big that allows others to pursue their side hustle within your side hustle. Then you have to create even more structured time and just more structure. Your side hustle is going to demand that you create more structure, because if you don't create more structure, your side hustle is going to wane, and your side hustle is always going to be put on the back burner with the busyness culture. There's always going to be something else that we find that we could put our time into. And there's other things we should put our time into that are good things to put our time into. But if you don't create more structure for your side hustle, you are not going to see the benefits of thriving in that. And you're always going to feel like that side hustle is a hobby. Not to make a hobby sound bad. A hobby is great. I have hobbies. Like I love to play video games. Like I don't think I'm going to become a professional Fortnite player because I get on Fortnite and I suck. And there are 12-year-olds who pwn me game after game. And that's neither here nor there. But it's a hobby and it's something I like to do to decompress, watch shows, hobbies, all that kind of stuff. So, but with your side hustle, continue to find structure and see the benefits of that. Like I said before, creating structure and creating boundaries within things leads to more freedom for you. It leads to more opportunity. It leads to more growth. And you're going to recognize as you take intentional steps in your side hustle that side hustle may become your main. Yeah. That side hustle may become your main thing. That side hustle may spark and inspire somebody else to get into their side hustle more seriously. So I know that was a lot, but I hope that yeah.
The key word that you're saying there is intentionality, right?
Like, yes.
And just being really intentional. If those three categories of being, hobby, side hustle, and main gig, a lot of people, I think it's just being really honest with where you're at. So like you said, we all have hobbies. We all have the things that we should allow ourselves the space to not have to have it be a side hustle. If it's just giving yourself some space. We had my friend John Mark on here, who's a producer in LA. And one of the things he said was, if you just want to record yourself playing guitar and timestamp it just to show that you did something creative, that's a worthwhile thing. And to like honor that, if that's what you're looking to do. And then if also recognizing, if you're being intentional, that it's, if you're trying to have a side hustle and you're treating it like a hobby, expecting it to become your main, you have to be intentional with the side hustle to give it that structure that you're talking about. Don't expect it to be something that it's not if you're not treating it that way. So I think that those are three really helpful distinctions, and I feel like you broke those down really helpfully. So I appreciate that. And then one thing we've been asking a lot of people, just as we close, during this time when we haven't been able to do a lot of things per usual, maybe with COVID-19 or with the quarantine, what's something that's been giving you life recently? What's one way that's been making it through? Could be as simple as Doritos, and it could be as complex as contemplating nature's true existence. What is it for you?
Yeah, I think it's time. For me in this season, like I said before, busyness has been a part of who I am for so long, and that this season has demanded me to take time to step back. And I really appreciate having the time to be able to get out into nature and just be. There is something about just sitting in nature and just letting it speak for itself. And I think that's so beautiful. And I've also been given more time to just read. I love to read, and reading and nature and all that combined has just been such a joy to me. And to be able to also, I think something that we lose a lot when we get into a busy culture is that things are so tunnel vision and you're so focused on your things, your stuff, your time, your presence, that we lose out on taking those moments to step back and think about, how's my friend doing? How's my spouse doing? How's my family doing? And so this season has lent itself to being able to reach out to more people and care for people more than I have before, with those intentional choices of saying, hey, I recognize I've sucked at this, and I want to take that time to pour in and also get poured into and just build good friendships and keep those going. So, yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I so appreciate you taking the time, man, to hang out with us and pour into us. We really appreciate all that you are and all that you're doing, not just for our Hope+Elim community, but for the community at large. If people want to check out your music, some of the different things that you're doing, any of the many things that you're doing, what's the best way for people to find you for the various roles that you play?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you want to check out the music, it's at Will Tunink, WILLTUNINK. You can find that on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere that you listen to music. I'm there. If you want to check out DJing, we have. If you're one of those people who may be getting engaged and would like some fun at your DJ for the wedding, we are Half Price Jukebox. You can find us on Facebook. And then I'm just Ryan Tunink. You can look me up on Facebook, and I'm there as well. And yeah, thanks so much, man. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for the environment you're creating for people. And I appreciate all that you do too. So
Awesome, man. Well, we thank you for being with us, and hopefully we'll get to be in the building together here in person safely sometime soon.
Looking forward to it, man. It's going to be good.
It'll be good. Peace.
Alrighty. Peace.